Good evening. Today is August 6th at 5:30 p.m. and this is our Parks and Rec Committee. If we could get a roll call, please, Ms. Swain.
Mrs. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. Ghost?
Here.
Mr. Martin is absent. Two present, we have quorum.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion on the minutes from the June 4th meeting.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Ghost?
Yes.
2 yeas. The minutes passed.
Are there any visitors that would like to speak to the Parks and Rec Committee? Seeing none, we will move on to unfinished business. We have first up Kinslow disc golf signs.
If you turn to page 4 in your packet, we just wanted to let you guys know all the signs are now up. They've been put up by our services team. These signs come from Brain Tangibles. Mr. Linton donated these signs to the Kinslow Golf Disc Course. They look really nice if you have a chance to go out and actually look at them.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're really well done.
They are
Oh,
done.
good.
So we just wanted to show you what they look like
Yeah,
in case you
appreciate
hadn't had a
that.
chance. And we're really appreciative that he did that for us.
Yeah. To go out there.
There's no cost to us, correct?
No cost.
Yeah. Like they got our logo on there too. So
Excellent.
thank you. Thanks to our services team for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Where are we at with Operation Apple Turnover? Ms. Swain.
Well, we put the Facebook post up. I'm sure you guys saw it. We gave them the options. Option 2 came out on top. On page 5, you'll see.
Although I just want to be clear, it was never meant to be a vote necessarily. What we were trying to do is solicit feedback from the public regarding the options.
And they gave us some great feedback, which we've taken into consideration. You'll see that each option, I broke down the comments that we received for each one. So there was a really good feedback about putting him over there. There wasn't any pushback of him not being on the square.
Mhm.
Everyone seems to think it's a good place to place him.
So as a reminder, so option 2 and 4 seem to be the ones that were the preference. 2 is the one that placed it near the crosswalk at the top of the hill. And number 4 has it also visible from Granville Street, but just has it farther down the trail, sort of back toward the creek a little bit. So just want to note. So I think again, not meant to necessarily be a vote, but I do think there's some consistency about the interest in being able to see Johnny Appleseed, while walking on the sidewalk or driving down the road. So, so that said, I did want to add, so we do know that the height of Johnny Appleseed after you put the base on him and then attach him to the top, and then there'll be a little bit of a concrete pad at the bottom. He'll roughly be 11 feet tall, top to bottom.
Okay.
I say that because, I mean, I take into account a little bit the scale of Johnny, when he's out there. At the top of the hill near that crosswalk, I mean, it's going to look very large. Particularly, there are a few scrub trees in that area, but it's not, they're not well-defined trees. You don't think of Johnny as being quite that big when he's sitting next to a 35-foot building. So, I feel strong. I personally feel strongly that moving him down the hill a little bit, it will give the scale, will make the scale feel a little bit better and more comfortable to the eye as you're driving down the street or as you're walking down the sidewalk, if you will. We can clear out some of the debris, some of the dead and overgrown brush that's in behind, just to kind of make it feel a little bit more prominent. That is one of the things that Jake and the service team had talked about is again, trying to maybe do a little bit of clearing to assist with that. And then maybe, plant an apple tree or 2 around it just to kind of create more of a, an experience, I guess, when you're down there. Of course, apples can be a little messy too, but, not a whole bunch of apples, but just a tree or 2. So I just want to note that. I think, at this point, we're trying to just, get some guidance on where to place them so that we can get the concrete in place. And then once we get them set, we would want to do some sort of a, official ribbon cutting or something just to welcome Johnny to his, new location. So anyway, we could go through the comments in more detail if you wanted to, but, I think those are some of the key points. There's this comment about moving the sign. Keep in mind, I think I've mentioned to this group, We do have a contractor that's going to help us do designs for all of the parks signs so that we can brand all of the parks consistently. And we're also doing it for the city as well. So parks, city buildings, and the entry signs to the city. That's kind of the first phase of this. So I wouldn't let that sign necessarily
Right, because
influence
it
a
could
lot.
change.
Right.
Anyway, regardless of Johnny.
So
Exactly.
this proposed location, I think we want to make sure that it's visible from Dana Donnell's pending future building. So will it be?
So that was one of the reasons that we were talked about that sort of upper tier of the trail, just to maybe kind of create a little bit of visibility there, if you will. If we do that, what we could maybe do is, again, maybe just a little bit more clearing of the scrub trees, not any real trees in that area, so that it does open back up a little bit more to that new development when it gets ready. So I think we could do that for sure.
We'll definitely have a connected path because that's
Yes.
part of the
Exactly.
deal with that development, right?
That's absolutely right. Yes.
Okay.
So are you saying, in your opinion, which option was the one across from Mr. Donnell's property? Option,
So that was option 3, and that one people didn't necessarily, they didn't gravitate to it necessarily. But that's okay. Again, it's, it was just one option. That would be less visible on Granville Street. And I think that seemed to be the more prevailing view, is that it was more important to be seen from Granville than maybe even from this neighboring development. But having said that, I mean, like I said, we may be able to largely accomplish both objectives by, again, kind of clearing out some of the scrub trees that are the lower level trees that are in that area to, again,
So are you
pull it down the
saying-
hill a little bit.
your opinion, which option was that, 3 or 4?
So 3 was the one that put it at the top, at 4 and close or visible from Mr. Donnell or Dana Donnell's property. But 2 and 4 are the ones that, and maybe if you could just pull up the auditor site maybe or something. Yeah. The numbers are starting to get confusing, aren't they?
I'm talking about.
Yeah, most of the data is fairly overwhelming for 2.
Yeah, I'd say, again, the feedback seems to suggest the 2 and 4 are the preferences, or would be the preference. Yeah, so here's our trail. So this is where it connects in up here. So 2 had it at the upper end, 4 had it just down here a little bit more. It starts to slope down back toward the creek. And like I said, I think from a scale perspective, it will feel like it fits a little bit better by moving it down the hill a little.
I agree.
So that.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if that was an option. I know the middle of it was an option, and then down, I couldn't remember where that 4th option was.
And then we clear out the corner of scrub.
Exactly. Just so maybe there's a little bit more visibility.
Yeah.
So the statue would he be on the trail?
Like our vision was that he would be on the inside.
Behind it, right? Yeah. Okay.
But not on a corner where if you don't, because I was worried about that, because I was like, if you don't know that statue is there,
Yeah.
that could be unnerving to come around and see that statue.
Maybe I'll work at it. They're out, scrub on both sides, so yeah, we're not trying to scare anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in some words,
Is that the same distance off of Granville for the scale you were talking, or the slope goes down, so he would be down further?
it's sloping down this way toward the creek, so
So his height wouldn't be as,
yeah, you won't, yeah, he'll look more proportional if we move him down the hill a little bit.
Yeah.
Because and just
Mhm.
petrifying with walking, that kind of thing.
because we have to do such a in-depth base to him, it's probably not possible to put him up just for like a second, so the Jake or somebody could visualize if that would be good. Is that possible, or is it really like we gotta go all in?
And that's take what I mean, if at the end of the day, his team's gonna, I mean, ultimately the contractor will help us connect, attach it. I think what Jake's trying to figure out is where to put the concrete base.
Yeah.
But if his team can move it around with a piece of equipment, And maybe what we can do is make an arrangement to get it over and have the team kind of show us.
If if that team could do it, I would like to be able to see it. If it's too much, that's understandable, but if it's possible, I'd like to be able to see it before we go, yes, definitely, let's put concrete there.
Well, let's check with Jake and see how needs that to be.
Okay.
And then we'll let you know.
Does that
Think-
sound good?
You think, you think that'll be scheduled in the next 30 or 60 days?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
If he's ready to go, Johnny is ready.
Johnny is ready to be reset.
Okay.
Contractor is ready to.
Help
Release
whenever. Okay. Any
Good.
more thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. Moving on to new business, we have the Sunbury Sizzle and Sounds. And I feel like this has already gone through events and it was scheduled to come to Parks last month before it went to council, but we had to cancel our Parks meeting because we didn't have a quorum. So the city council has already heard from the Civic, as has the events committee. We're just sort of circling back, right? Yeah. Through Parks, so
Yeah, I.
probably nothing new, really.
Now we're 10 days away from Sizzle. Obviously they're still looking for volunteers. I did put that in the administrator's report, a link to help people connect if they're interested in doing that. We are, you actually didn't include either of you on the correspondence, but working closely with the media services contractor, Joey Thomas. So I think I've got him started on doing the pre-event Know Before You Go, which we've gotten into the habit of doing one of those. So he's working on that. Our hope is to have that released middle of next week and then do the same thing. We'll have video and photos taken the day of the event, which we'll be able to share with the community thereafter. So that's in the works. And then I don't know, from an operational perspective, we did meet. The committee met maybe a week ago or so. I think one of the issues that come up is now that we're going to extend the beer garden a little bit farther down Cherry Street, what do we do to secure that portion of the roadway? Our service team is working with the city of Delaware at this point, trying to secure, they've got street barriers that are movable. So they've got a request in to borrow those from them. Which will be actually good for us to see how they work, how they're moved. They're heavy, which they should be, right?
That's the idea.
So not easy to move. So we'll see how the team moves them and whether or not we feel like, it might be worth us doing and making an investment of some sort on those types of barriers going forward. But there was a lot of conversation about how to secure the additional, exposure on Cherry Street.
Okay.
Sizzle has hired a private security firm, right?
Yes.
To help, Big Walnut, I should say.
Yeah, so they will be at the gates and they will be in the beer garden. So the police department will be roaming the area. And of course, if there's an issue that rises to their level, they'll be involved if it happens in the beer garden as well. The other important point there is that by having a professional security team available, they will be asked to help monitor the chair issue. And enforce the chair issue a little bit, so you don't have.
As a reminder, we're only doing that on the grass, or you can
Yes.
have it anywhere. It's only on the grass.
Only on the grassy area here. Yep.
And the only chairs I see are approved are right here on the
Camping chairs.
illustration.
Exactly.
Can we
Yep.
be utilizing any of our light up signs that we have that we use for the parade?
Yeah, Jake and PD have been talking about that. So I think you'll see those go up early next week. I think Jake's going to position them just to basically notify people the event is coming. Just be aware that there will be street closures occurring, some delays, choose another route, I guess, if you're not coming through town. Of course, Cherry Street will remain open throughout the duration. So it's a little bit different situation.
And something else to note was Civic was very clear about they have hired more bus drivers this year. One of the problems last year was folks had extensive waits at their neighborhoods trying to catch a bus. And they have come to find out that it was because the state requires them to give them breaks, lunch breaks and such. And so they were required to take breaks as they should have had, but they didn't have anybody filling in. So they've hired double the bus driver so that they can rotate their lunch breaks.
Excellent.
So I'm looking forward to that because I know even Damon and other folks really had a hard time with that. None comes to our neighborhood.
Police and fire totally on board. No issues with the beer garden expansion, right?
Absolutely not. They've been involved from the get-go in the planning, so
Okay.
we do have one more meeting with the team. So when I referenced the planning meeting last week, it includes representatives from the police department and from the fire department, and they have been attending the meetings regularly, so that's fantastic. But again,
We'll someone from streets in there or
Yeah.
you do.
we do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sizzle 2025.
Mm.
Okay. Well, Murray Neff will be happy to see in July. We are talking about Christmas decorations. What do we have going on we can talk about?
There isn't too much to talk about. I know we've talked about how we want to build this out year to year. Daryl and I have talked. I think this year our goal is to build the outside trees and get those lighted. And then I'm just open for suggestions, comments, feedback from what you saw last year.
Did we have the bases of the trees last year? We didn't
have the
have,
poles. All the poles
All the
on the
poles.
square are lit. Now it's the bases of the outside trees. I think we're gonna work.
we didn't do the
towards.
bases of the trees last year? And that's what you're looking to add this year?
Yeah, up on the perimeter. So one of the concern where it's close to the street lights, so they can easily plug into the power and light the trees. One of the concerns of the service team is that, to light the interior trees, there's just a lot of extension cords that are starting to cover the ground and, to get to the trees. So we'll start with the exterior or the perimeter this year, see how we get that, how that works, and keep going from there. And then the other thing is, are we doing anything more with the wreaths or?
Well, probably, I think there's some poles still that need.
Yeah, okay.
wreaths. So, and
But when not every window,
not every window, they unfortunately discontinued the ones that we had purchased the year before. So we're just working on getting more lights for the windows. So I'll put the lighted candles back out. We have a brighter bulb that we're gonna try so you can see them better from the street. And then the wreaths will be lit on the front of the building.
okay,
Thinking Hallmark, right?
yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we'll think about that. I don't really, off the top of my head, can you think of anything in addition?
Nancy's already given me her
Okay.
ideas.
I've shared.
Okay,
In time, maybe.
okay, yeah, she tends to go big. Okay, well, I'll think about that too. I know, I think Alyssa had, maybe it was you or Alyssa had researched other cities a while back.
We've
and-
looked at other cities and what they do, but in the spirit of Murray Neff, as I call it,
Yeah.
he wants that Hallmark warm glow vibe. So we're looking at the warm white lights, like the gazebo will be lit, but we're hoping to just grow that corner and grow that corner. So when you drive into town from any direction, you see it.
I know we have kind of gone back and forth with a children's tree in the gazebo. Will there be a tree in the gazebo?
No, unless you're planning one. I don't think we're anticipating that we're gonna do that. Like I said, the event was too big in terms of the size of the building. Meaning there's just we're exceeding the capacity level. So we decided that maybe this just wasn't the right venue to be doing that kind of thing. So we're not doing that type of ornament. We did a little bit of a different type of ornament like last year where it was kind of, you make it and you go downstairs
Santa, yeah.
with Santa. So we'll do something, with Santa, but not where it's an outdoor ornament that will survive the weather and go on a tree. It's usually
Okay,
or something like that.
I wonder if we could do, and I'm not suggesting this, I'm just throwing it out there. If we did a tree, but we just lit it, like just as a decoration on the square, like a smaller tree in the gazebo that just has lights on it. that just came to me as like an idea. It doesn't have to happen. Just as like, if we're trying to increase stuff on the square, but we don't want to put lights on the interior, then that could be one thing we do is light up a tree in the gazebo.
In general.
This is Nancy Crawford.
After the three of us met a couple of weeks ago, I went back to my notes from our debrief of last year. And you had actually requested if maybe I could put Santa someplace else.
Yeah, well, either someplace else or we're gonna have to streamline it more because people were trying to come in the building all which ways and.
So, and I don't have an alternative yet. I know we talked about maybe having a tent, maybe outside. But that would also, if we can make that happen, that would give you guys the entire first floor to do what you want. I don't know if you preference to having a tree outside or inside. Or if you just think that's something nice to add to.
Yeah, the other thing I think that so last year you had programmed the gazebo as well. So that was with some singing, with singers, which I think worked fantastic. So I feel like in some ways we just used the gazebo in a different way last year and it seemed to.
Sure, if you don't, yeah. Could you put Santa under the gazebo?
I mean, it's a cold night. I don't know.
How long does Santa stay?
After the parade until then, so 2 hours.
And he wears a warm suit.
Oh, jeez. Santa's not young.
But you
Okay.
could put a space heater in the gazebo and just a little bit of fencing material to break the wind going through it. That would work. I think it would keep him, a Santa suit is very warm. And
So why don't we-
every Santa I know wears a full set of clothes underneath it, so.
That's an idea.
Yeah.
So your point being, if there's programming, Santa, singers, otherwise, there just might not be room for a tree. If we don't use the gazebo, potentially, we could throw a tree in there. Okay. Got it. Anything else from Christmas or
No.
Christmas decorations? Okay. I'm just gonna note that Mr. Martin has joined our meeting here. Okay, moving on, we're on resident comments now under new business. And these both came via me, different folks have reached out to me. So the first is additional Ohio to Erie Trail signage on East Cherry Street. So a resident who lives on East Cherry Street had mentioned to me that when she and her family are outside enjoying their yard and their front porch and such, they always get bicyclers who stop and ask, which way do I go? And I know that the chamber gets that question a lot as well. So I said, she wanted to know if we could get some more signage for the Ohio to Erie Trail. And I said, I'll bring it up to the Parks Committee and ask the staff. I know the trail is Preservation Parks too, so I don't know if we have control over that, if that's something that's part of our sign program with the parks, maybe. I just thought I'd bring it up because residents are asking, and that's my job.
So I missed the first part of that. The resident lives on what street?
Cherry Street,
Lives on Cherry. Okay.
down a bit from JR
Yeah.
towards the
okay.
trail.
Got it. Yeah, so we did add signage. It's probably been a year and a half ago, but mostly it was kind of at this intersection down here at Cherry and
Vernon?
yes, thank you. Because we didn't have clear signage down there, so we've got it going in both directions now. And I thought we had, and then there's something was added, I think, at the very end of the trail at this end to kind of help. I know there's but that marking down here off of the trail is Preservation Parks. We were the ones that added the trail, the signage up here. I don't know if there's anything in between. Okay, so there's not.
Well, I would personally like to see more signage myself. I've had some comments on that too, especially over in
Maybe
that
you're
area.
coming from the other way.
Yeah, both directions. Can we do
Yeah,
that?
so, but like I was saying, so as you exit the trail in both directions, it does tell you which way to turn, right? And then, in some ways it's telling you, okay, come down this road. It doesn't tell you that there's another sign. It just says, come down this road. And then, like I said, it does have a larger sign than here at this intersection in both directions.
What
But
about if you're on the trail and you're coming towards town?
yeah, I mean, same type of thing. As you're exiting the trail, there's,
On the trail, it says
yeah,
that.
actually, I think there's also a sign that as you enter the trail too, on Cherry Street. But again, they're relatively small. I get that. But if you're a cyclist, I mean, you're kind of used to looking for that type of.
Sure.
So I think what I'm hearing you say then is if we added some kind of signage, sort of maybe mid-block, meaning kind of halfway down Vernon, halfway down Cherry or something, just to help with that, maybe that's a good thing to do. Yeah, well, let us look at the best locations for that. You know,
Do we-
I imagine some property owners are not gonna be enamored with new signs, you know, they're not in their yard, they'd be in the public right away.
Right.
But certainly going in that direction would be easy because you have the park. We'd
As
be able
a,
to
did we
easily.
have a bike station in the park? I remember talking about like a,
In JR, we do have a nice one planned.
yeah.
Do we have that in the
Over.
plan? I think we might have. Let's look for that in the plan. As
'Cause
it
that
might
could be
like
an easy spot to put it if we have like a recovery station or something. Okay.
Okay.
Not looking for answers, I'm just throwing it out there. And then a second person reached out to me, and I know we've talked about this, and I told her that we have talked about this, but I said I would bring it up again. Bike racks on the square, and I know we have them at the gazebo, and I know Amber specifically has talked to business owners, and some want them and some don't. And I know, Nancy has shared feedback too, that, sometimes folks are stopping at Firehouse and they're leaning their bikes up against the brick building. Like, is it Money Concept still? And you really can't blame the residents for wanting to put their bike and their supplies in the shade, but at the same time, you don't blame Money Concepts, who's like, hey, this is my brick building and you're putting your stuff here. And so the resident was just like, well, you want folks to come to your square and come to your restaurants and shop in your shops, but we're not providing enough bike racks. So I said, we have talked about that. I know Amber has done some research on that, but it's been a while. I couldn't remember everything, so I thought, let's talk about that again.
Yeah, so I don't know, you want anything to start with?
You are correct. I did talk to the businesses about them. The ones we have that we got from a grant have to be drilled into the concrete, so they have to go somewhere between the street and the business. And I got pushback from almost everyone over there. They didn't want it. They already had the tree there. It would be too much. We have been talking about a good location over here. It's just finding a location to put it where it's not going to interfere with everything else and not upset anybody, because that's not what I want to do. But we do have them. They're required to be drilled into the concrete. So
Can you have more discussion with those business owners over there? To try to find a spot that might be amenable to everybody?
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I know as we've been talking about the options over here, we have considered whether adding a concrete base and then putting a bike rack there. Would that facilitate, what's happening at the candy store and at the coffee shop? And I mean, I think at the end of the day, though, what you see is, the people who visit it, for the most part, just sort of, well, at least I'll say for the candy shop, let me just say that, they drive up, these are kids, right? They're just going to put their bike wherever they get it.
Yeah.
Are they going to, take it across the road and put it in the city?
Not likely.
Probably not likely. So that's
It's
been.
not kids that are going into
No,
Firehouse.
right. No, I'm just saying that
Yeah.
I think, so that has kind of stalled the discussion over here a little bit. But as Amber had said, I mean, what stalled the discussion over there a long time ago was really just that they didn't feel like there was a whole lot of space when you think about the trees and the other things that are happening, outdoor seating, that bumps people out in front of a couple of establishments. Yeah, I mean, I think we can certainly, you make another run at it.
Okay.
See, I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying not to obviously block sidewalks, make sure people can get through even with bikes.
Mhm.
And, yeah. All right, we will commit to doing that on, sounds like Vernon is an issue. I don't know, as we've talked a little bit about Cherry, we've tried to push people a little bit more toward the park over here, which does have bike racks, and people use those bike racks, which is great. And I think that's another thing. I think, did we talk about, we might have bike racks in this parking lot over here too. Other thing to look at when we look at the plan. So, yeah, I mean, alternatively, do we want to look for spots on the square? I mean, I think we've been trying to avoid putting stuff on the square, but we have added a few benches. I mean, so it's not like we haven't added anything to the square, but I don't know. Is it worth exploring?
Okay.
All right, well, we'll start with the businesses.
Yeah.
See if we can get any headway or make any headway there and circle back.
Okay, that's good.
And then I want to ask, this isn't on the agenda, but it is a resident comment that I just got today, and Amber probably saw it too, and you might have seen the email, Daryl, but I sent it to Alyssa. I didn't realize she was gone, but it was a resident comment who was just wondering if we have a map of our trails. Do we have something like that now? And if we don't, is that something we're considering?
So we had started that project a while ago. It actually might have been a year ago. So Alyssa did start that. And Verdantis was doing something similar. But what I think we just need to find out kind of where both, I think Alyssa basically set it aside while they did their thing, but I don't feel like we've ever gotten the final.
We have some, they must be from Preservation Parks, but we have some at the chamber with the trails.
Well, I think they're talking about all of the trails throughout the city, the ones that are going through the neighborhoods, that have been added as part of development.
The comment was school starting and folks moving into Price Ponds and Rolling Hills. They're wanting to know what's the easiest way for their kid to get to the middle school. And I thought that would be a moving document that we would be adding to, but I was like, that's really not too much to ask for, I think, from a resident, especially with the schools and their school bus radius and stuff. So many kids are riding their bikes, and I was like, that's a fair question. So
yeah, it is definitely a fair question.
Okay, so we'll circle with Verdantis and see where they're at.
Can you ask, Ashley?
Yes.
Looks like she's making a note on that. If nothing else, let's get what they have. They do have something. It may not be complete yet.
Yeah, that would be a
You kind of change it, but yeah.
document, yeah.
But it also may be the type of thing that, so let me say this. When we were talking to Verdantis about it, we were talking about trying to add it to the city's GIS system so you could see the trails. That said, I mean, there may be a reason though that we would want to have something that's a little more public facing, kind of like what we did with public parking. That map Alyssa did put together. So maybe, again, working from whatever we've got from Verdantis, maybe we can convert that into, again, something that's just a little bit more user friendly to the public. So
Sure, if it's not user friendly, then that doesn't help the resident.
Yeah, exactly.
In question, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So if I could, Madam Chair, before we move into the other parks business, there's one other item on the new business that we didn't have on the agenda, and we apologize for that. The Labor Day market representative is here to talk a little bit about the market. So if you don't mind.
Sure.
Good evening. Jim Janisek, for those that don't know me, with the Sunbury Bay Walnut Kiwanis Club. Thank you for inviting me this evening. To give you a very brief update on the Labor Day flea market, we're excited for another installment. Presently, we have 68 vendors registered, including 6 food trucks and food vendors, which will be parked on Granville Street. Again, as we typically close that street off through traffic. For the day, we'll run from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Monday, September 1st, which is Labor Day this year. We'll have a kids area with a couple of bounce houses, games, probably some book giveaways from 10 to 3. And then we will wrap the day at 4 o'clock. And the funds for this from this event go to help support our service leadership programs, the Builders Club at the middle school, the Key Club at the high school. And hopefully this year we'll get a K-Kids going at the intermediary school to spread some more service leadership development and we're going to get some of those groups to help us on Labor Day with staffing running errands, taking out the trash, doing all the fun things for the event, to make it go seamless. All we ask, at this point is for a great day of weather. As
Daryl's usually in charge of that.
Perfect.
You're handling that for Sizzle too. Okay. Did you say it was 10 to 4?
Eight to 4, the kids area will be open 10 to 3. Happy to answer any other questions.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, Amber did just say, so the application has been shared with police, fire and service, so no objections from them.
No objection.
I feel like this went through events.
It did.
Okay.
It did. Yeah, no objection.
And do we need anything from council for this? Do we need,
So we do have a street closure, so let me get this on the agenda for the 20th.
okay, because they're
the next-
asking for Granville.
Yeah.
Any questions from the committee?
No, thanks,
How
Jim.
many years have you guys been doing this?
We started in 2019, we took it over from the Civic Association, so
Mhm.
excluding 2020. We're 6 years.
Great.
Great job.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for
Thank
adding
you.
that, Mr.
Yeah.
Hennessy.
Yep.
Okay. Other parks business, a monthly park update. I assume since Alyssa's not here, that we'll get that from Amber.
All right, I don't have any updates for Evening Street or Freedom. At General Rosecrans, Eagle Adventure Camp has concluded. They had a very successful, busy year. And then our service department did have to repair the roof on that shelter after the last big storm. Some of the shingles had come off of it and they were very quick to answer. They've also installed 2 more permanent trash cans at the shelter house. It's become one of our more popular shelter houses and it's seeing a lot of action. So that was needed and I want to thank them. They acted pretty fast on that and got that taken care of. And then Old Church Park, we had a couple residents call in concerning a tree that was growing in front of Lady Liberty. They also acted fast on that to make sure that that was taken care of before the 4th of July. And then at the reservoirs, I don't know if you've had a chance to go over there yet. There has been signage added. If you're coming up Otis Street, there's no way you're not gonna be able to find our park now. So thanks again to our service team. They do. And then the fishing derby that took place from the American Legion, they had a really good turnout. I want to say they had over 100 people. I stopped in. It was the weather was beautiful. So they couldn't complain there. Memorial Park, we had 3 burials in the past month. And then Town Square, concrete repairs were completed on Cherry Street, Columbus Street, and as well as the Town Hall stairs. The Pride event that took place was successful. There was no incidents there. They had a good time with music, dancing, and everything else. And then 4th of July, I think was a huge success. No major incidents. The parade was great. We had a really good turnout for the parade and the fireworks. And then as a reminder, the Sizzle is on the 16th and the Big Walnut Civic Association is still looking for volunteers.
So you skipped over JRC.
I know.
Did I?
Over J.R. Smith. So Tim's thinking, how could you have skipped over my?
I don't know what you guys are talking about. 60% of the design plans have been turned in and currently being reviewed. She did not divulge too much more on that. I don't know if you have.
What does that mean? Who's reviewing them?
Why don't we have our engineer explain what this means?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping the answer was. Tell us the process.
Good evening. So when we get design plans, they will often submit them in different phases. In this case, we are receiving them at 30, 60, and 90% completion so that we can look at the plans, comment, and then they'll get back to us with a disposition of any comments that are made.
Is there a rhyme or reason as to what is the first 30% and what is the 60%? Like, is there a way that they do that? Like, do they start outside and go in, or they just work until 30% is done?
And it's a loose 30%. It can look more like 25 or 50. So It really is just a way of saying, here's a preliminary design, the general footprints, maybe they don't get into all of the dimensions and just show some of the main features. And let's say the plan packet is 60 pages, but there are general notes and different details on the playground equipment and those types of items. In the 30% plans, you're probably not going to get them, but they'll have a placeholder for it. And then as they submit more, you get more detail so that you can review it.
Yeah, so a good, that is a good example. I was going to give another good example. And so that at the 30% levels, so we looked at those documents, and as they went back to do the 60% design. So again, everything's included in the 30, 60, and 90. Again, the level of detail gets more intense as you get closer to 100% design. But one of the things that we discovered, I think, between the 30 and the 60% design had to do with stormwater, and they were considering some options.
Yep.
As they sort of, dug deeper into the details of that. So now we're considering different ways to manage the stormwater. The location of the stormwater had been identified from the get-go, but again, now the detailed engineering around how to handle the water is really what's starting to happen at this stage. So, more things could evolve or well, it will evolve, but more things may emerge, as we get closer to the 90%. Obviously, the goal here is that, when we're done with this, we've got documents that we can put out on the street, we can bid the project, we can get a contractor, and we can get to work. So
We're still on track for maybe a
Yeah, I was gonna say,
spring breaking of the ground, right?
At the very latest,
Okay.
hopefully the final plans will be into us in October. They are on track, maybe a week ahead of their original design schedule. So if they can keep up with that pace, and that largely depends on comments and feedback that they receive from the city. But we didn't have a ton of comments at the 30% plan stage. So with that, we could bid the project out at the end of the year. And depending upon the contractor that's awarded the project, they might start in the spring, or they might be shovel ready this winter. I mean, there is underground work that can be done in those cold months.
Excellent.
I have two questions. One about the underground work. I'm sure Verdantis is aware, like, do they do research on what has already been done in previous years on that field? Because there used to be a football association that played games there. And I know they put in a lot of money for a drainage system years ago. So is that something that Verdantis knows about and sees when they were surveying, or?
So I did not see any of those items on the plan set, like a detailed drainage design for any sort of football field. So at least to my knowledge, they would collect any information that the city would have provided them, or we had in as-built drawings, and I haven't seen them.
Okay, we didn't do it, the city didn't do it, but I've heard that the football association put in. Do you remember that, Amber? Okay. I'd have to.
I mean, they have done some boring, so they have, tried to poke down into the soil and see what they've got there, but you could easily miss a tile, or two if they've got those across the football field. They would.
Oftentimes for like a football field, with the drainage that they use doesn't have a ton of grates because you don't want to have tripping hazards on the field. So there wouldn't be as much evidence of that. But you would typically be able to see at least some of the lines coming into the main pipe, and they have done investigation into our public system. So I guess to the extent of knowing where some of those small diameter pipes are, I would say it would have been considered private improvement. So without more information, we wouldn't have the documentation. There will be some regrading of that area. So if they run into it, we are not counting on that drainage improvement for the park itself.
Okay. And then secondly, with 60% being done, do we have any wiggle room on the size of the splash pad? Can we go bigger with a splash pad?
I mean, wiggle room, it's hard to say. It has been designed, and depending upon what we mean by wiggle room, it would have to be looked at and considered. I know it was tight quarters on there, especially one of the first things you review is the orientation relative to sanitary sewer, storm sewer, to make sure we could fit it in. And we already had to ask them to rotate the existing one because essentially we don't want pipes underneath it because if something happens, it'll impact the splash pad. But whether or not we'd go back and be able to do something more or less would be
Yeah,
something we have to discuss.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is, I mean, also keep in mind, although I think you have asked for an updated cost estimate as well, just to
Yes.
make sure that we're tracking with what's been budgeted. But also keep in mind that, again, we have been working with our financial advisor to make sure that we're ready to go with the bond deal. Again, you'll start to see that in front of council in the September, October timeframe. So we haven't priced for a bigger splash pad at this point. So I would say if we're tweaking at the margins, maybe, but I don't think there's room here
Make it
to be,
considerably
yeah,
bigger.
that's,
Mhm.
otherwise, now the timing of the plans changes pretty dramatically.
I said I would ask, so I'm
Thank you
asking.
for asking.
Okay,
It's a good sized pad. I'm telling you, it's good. You're gonna like it. Your kids will like it.
so we are looking at our next regular meeting being on Wednesday, September 3rd at 5:30.
Mhm.
Anything else from staff?
I just have a question. Where is option 2 for Johnny Appleseed?
So pull it up and we'll do that real quick for you.
I'm sorry, I was late getting here, so.
No worries. We asked why. So we were talking about 2 and 4. So 2 and 4 seem to be the ones that most of the people were gravitating toward. And those are the ones that have visibility on Granville Street. So 2 had it closer to the crosswalk, 4 had it just down here a little bit more where it comes down.
Okay.
A little bit. So what we're gonna do is ask the service team. Actually, if they can't get the statue itself, we might be able to get something that's 11 feet tall and so you can begin to kind of visualize how it would be seen from the street.
Right.
Try to get something that, looks the appropriate scale. So
Okay,
this is where we're focused.
all right, thank you.
All right.
Okay. I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Ghost?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.